Okay, so that band is done. Then I'm going to move down. Now I don't want to paint this band right away because it's still touching that and I just don't want my colors to accidentally blend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this band and move on to this next one. Now the next one has these arrows on mine, okay, and I want those to be brown. And it's a really tiny area, so I'm going to make sure that I rinse my brush really, really good, but then I'm going to roll off most of my water. And I've already used my brown before, so I have a puddle of paint in there. Now, if I didn't, I would need to make a puddle of paint and then rinse my brush and go from there. But I'm going to go ahead and just use this. And I didn't get more water because, like I said, I already have a puddle in here. And I'm going to barely touch the top of that puddle, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint these. Now, it's really dark. And I'm just going to kind of, all right, because these are wet, I'm going to skip this background part, but by now I can touch this and say, okay, it's pretty dry. Watercolor dries pretty quickly. So now I'm going to think about what color I want to make this, and I'm going to make it purple. And so I'm going to take my water. I haven't used purple yet, so I'm going to get, water in my paint. I'm going to very nicely, pick up some color, and I'm not going all digging into my thing. And I'm going to paint this background of mine purple. Now it's a pretty large space, so I'm going to get some more water, some more paint, and move this around. All right, and once that's done, I'm going to pause on painting this because they're still touching. And I'm going to move to another section. I'm going to go down here. And then I'm just going to continue painting all of my patterns. Okay, now that your cactus are done and your vessel is done and it's all painted, when it's dry, okay, you can paint the foreground. That's what I would start off with because the background is really large and it's going to take a little bit of practice. So it's easiest to practice around the bottom first. So this is called a wet on wet technique. And that's because it's such a large space and we have tiny brushes. This is the best option for us, okay? So you're going to take your clean water. If your water is all discolored, I would suggest go getting some clean water. So you can take your water and your brush, and I'm just dipping my brush in my water, and it's pretty wet, and I'm just going to paint my foreground up to my line with just water. Now, it's a pretty good amount of water, not too crazy, because remember, this is not watercolor paper. I'm going to paint all the way over, and I have to do this fairly quickly, because if you take too long, that water dries, and then it was, not good. So it's already kind of dry, and you can see that's kind of drying because it's not shiny. I'm going to take my water, and I'm going to go into my brown, okay? And I'm getting a good amount of brown, and I'm going to paint right on top of this. Now, remember, it was already wet, so it should blend out pretty well. I'm going to get some more brown. Make sure you're getting plenty of water still. Oop, there we go. I'm going to get water back into my brown like this. I'm going to paint. Get some more water, spread that out. Now, really fast, your paper can get too wet, so you just got to be really careful about how much, and don't push really hard either. Now, it looks pretty uneven, but I won't be able to tell exactly how uneven it is until it's dried. And then if it's really uneven, I would just go back and I would paint another coat of brown once it's dry. Don't do it while it's wet. Okay. All right, lastly, we're going to paint our background, and I'm going to take some water. I'm going to do this one, not the whole thing at one time. I'm going to do it in sections. So I'm going to paint part of this with just water again. Now I'm going to create a nice, pretty good sized puddle of water inside my watercolor. And I'm not pushing really hard. Again, just kind of, letting it mix on its own on the top. And then I'm going to paint this orange and see how it kind of moves around for you. Okay, I'm going to grab some more water, a little bit of orange, remove that. And you're going to continue this for your whole background. So you're going to paint a little section with just water. Then I'm going to get myself some orange and then paint right on top of that. And then when you paint around your cactus, just be nice and easy with it. Remember, if it ever gets too dark in one area, just add some more water and then move the color around. But you definitely need to paint pretty quickly. So that way it doesn't get too dry and you can't move your paint. So always paint with water. Get a little bit of color, move that color around. All right, and then finish painting up your background. Okay, so this is really wet, and in its wet stage, the color's a little off. But when it's dry, it'll look much better. And then if I need to do a second coat, I can always do that as well. But this is the overall finished product. Well, guys, thanks for joining me for another Creating with Crossley. We'll see you next time.